When a shy janitor whispered in Mandarin, I never expected my daughter to respond. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. My heart raced as I stood there, frozen in that bustling hallway. 5 years of watching my tiny girl's face light up with laughter dimmed in an instant. It was a soft, tremulous voice breaking the ordinary hum of conversation. His eyes, darting nervously, caught mine for a brief second before shifting back to the ground. They were filled with a depth of emotion I couldn't quite grasp. In that moment, my pulse quickened. For years, my life had been a blur of worries and everyday struggles. My daughter, Mia, had always been my light, the reason I pushed through. But now, as I watched this janitor, a familiar but unseen presence in our lives, speak softly to her in a language I barely understood, dread curled like a snake in my stomach. How had they crossed paths? His shadow was always there, faint and unobtrusive, cleaning the floors while I rushed past, burdened by my own thoughts. And now, he was connecting with her. My fingers trembled as I brushed my hair behind my ear, desperate to capture any glimmer of understanding from the situation. Mia tilted her head, those big, curious eyes wide, mirroring pure wonder. She was so small, yet in that fleeting moment, she looked so brave. The fear crept back. What else did she know that I didn't? Who was this man who spoke her language? A sweat broke on my forehead as I ushered my footsteps forward. Every beat of my heart felt thunderous in the silence that hung like a storm cloud. I was the parent, and here I was, utterly helpless. She grinned, words spilling out between giggles, and he smiled back, an unexpected warmth blooming on his face. It hit me right in the chest, a mixture of jealousy and fear. What was she saying? What secret was unfolding before me? I wanted to pull her away, snatch her from this tender exchange, yet something deeper in me hesitated. What if this was important? The crowd around us swirled in their own worries, oblivious to the silent storm brewing between that janitor and my daughter. I felt their eyes brushing over me, whispers coursing through the air like electricity, but I was lost in the moment. I couldn't turn away. The air was thick, even the fluorescent lights above flickered like a hidden truth. As I stepped closer, I could see the sparkle in his eyes change. Concern flooded his face. It was as if he sensed the danger, a quiet understanding that twisted the moment into an uncharted territory. I could barely breathe. What if? What if this man knew something? What if he was more than just a janitor? Could he disrupt everything I'd fought so hard to establish? And then, just like that, silence fell. Mia's laughter trailed off like a dying note in a song. The warmth faded, replaced by a whisper so low I barely heard him, yet it felt sharp, electric. His voice echoed in my mind. Who was he? A chilling thought sent shivers down my spine. Did this hidden world he lived in stretch further than I imagined? The edges of my reality blurred, the comfort I'd once felt threatening to shatter. My eyes darted to Mia's face, searching for the girl I knew, but she was transformed, dreamy, intrigued, as if this man had opened up an entire universe beneath her fingertips. I realized I was losing her, losing control, and it terrified me. What was I facing? Who was I really protecting? The ground seemed to tilt beneath me. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The corridor felt even narrower as I standing there, caught between dread and disbelief. I coughed, the sound echoing back to me like a reminder of my own voice, a voice that suddenly felt foreign. I had never been a stranger to the shadows, but these felt different. They were as deep and mysterious as the depths of a midnight sky. Mia's eyes were lit with soft, inquisitive fire, captivated by the janitor. A mere man, in a faded uniform, somehow transformed into a beacon of light. I remained paralyzed, my heart thundering in a relentless rhythm that drummed against the walls of my ribcage. Could I disrupt this tender moment? What would it mean for her? Can you speak Mandarin, Mia? The question slipped from my lips, almost a breath, yet reverberating with the weight of my fears. Instantly, I regretted it. Her laughter had been a sanctuary, a place where I could ease my longing for understanding. Now it beckoned me into stormy waters. She turned to me, her smile faltering for a split second before returning, but I saw the flicker of confusion in her eyes. He said the flowers outside are really pretty, she replied, her voice bright yet innocent, unknowing of the tremors that coursed through me. He likes daisies because they remind him of home. A spark of something unnameable buried itself into my chest. Home. What did that even mean for us now? I glanced at the janitor. His gaze was fixed on Mia, filled with warmth, yet laced with something that sent a shiver racing down my spine. Slightly tentative, I took a step forward, trying to dissolve the distance growing between us. What do you mean home? He flinched slightly, and the warmth in his eyes dimmed just enough for me to notice. Home, it's where the heart speaks, where the language opens doors, he said, his words thick with an accent that curled like smoke in the air. Sometimes, it's not where you live, but the connections that bind us. His gaze swept down to the floor, a brief flicker of vulnerability dancing across his features. I wondered how much of his story was waiting to surface, buried under layers of silence and acceptance. The enigma standing before me, bound by his seemingly mundane role in life, felt larger than any ordinary man should. Mia reached for his hand, and instinct brought my body to a halt, a primal urge to shield her from whatever unknown was curling its claws at the edges of our lives. Before I could speak, she tugged gently, pausing momentarily, her brow furrowed with concern. Don't you want to tell me your name? She asked, as if reaching out for a part of him, a piece of something essential. Xiao Wei, he whispered, a proud yet shamed admission that hung heavy in the air. It rolled off his tongue like an unvoiced promise, transforming the act of naming into something sacred. I hadn't expected this man to become anything more than a fleeting whisper in Mia's life, but as the name settled in my mind, fear twisted once more around my heart. Who was this man, and what secrets did he carry? I could feel walls crumbling. The cocoon I had woven around Mia, to keep her safe from the shadows of the world, unraveled before me. What if his world was a labyrinth, one with paths intertwined with danger? You shouldn't talk to strangers, Mia. I spoke, the authoritative tone in my voice surfacing but almost breaking as it passed my lips. I could feel the urgency clawing at me. I searched her face. It was like staring into the sun, overwhelming yet impossible to ignore. But he's not a stranger, she insisted, standing her ground, boldness sparking in her small frame. My heart cracked at that moment as I watched her assert herself, yet it only churned the fear within me. It wasn't just the janitor. This marked a shift I hadn't anticipated, the spacious realm of trust she was creating, relying on connections I couldn't predict. Xiao Wei, I breathed, the name tasting foreign yet sweet on my tongue. I took a step closer, hoping to grasp both the moment and my daughter back into orbit. Why are you here? What do you want from her? He looked at me, his expression guarded, flitting with hints of sorrow. Nothing more than a moment of kindness. Kids are innocent until we teach them fear. Were my hands shaking? The way I held Mia's gaze seemed to shift something inside me as memories crashed against the barriers I built around our lives. There were bittersweet reflections of the past moments when I too was a child in awe of the world, bound by connections that felt timeless. Before I could respond, a loud crash reverberated from the nearby hall, shattering the fragile peace. There was a commotion, voices raised, panicked shouts echoing the air. My heart dropped. An unseen threat loomed so close now. Mia, I whispered urgently, instinctively pulling her close, the warmth of her small body grounding me. Daddy, what's happening? She whimpered, looking around wide-eyed. The innocence radiating from her felt like a beacon of hope and an anchor dragging us deeper into uncertainty. As the chaos unfolded, I spotted a figure darting towards us, frantic energy crackling in the air. Shadows danced around the edges of my vision, and for a moment, I felt the world tilt once more beneath my feet. "Something is going on," Xiao Wei muttered, eyes darting toward the commotion. "You need to listen. Trust. Sometimes the unexpected brings light into the darkest places." And before I could protest, he reached out, entwining his hand with Mia's, as the hallway filled with anxious bodies rushing past. My pulse raced, time shifted, squeezing us into the moment, knitting the seams of our lives tighter. What answers awaited us? And then, I realized, even I was beginning to trust the threads of fate unfolding as they called out the rhythm of a new beginning. As we stood together, an unexpected trio cradled in the chaos, one seed of doubt bloomed in my heart. What if there was more to Xiao Wei's connection to Mia than mere chance? What if this moment was only a prelude to a revelation that would change everything? The corridor pulsed with an energy that felt like it could ignite at any moment. Panic and confusion twisted into a palpable force, enveloping us as voices collided in a chaotic storm. I clutched Mia tighter, feeling her small frame tremble against my side. The flicker of warmth from Xiao Wei's hand entwined with hers sent a ripple of uncertainty through me. I had made it my life's work to shield her from the world's harsh realities, yet here we were, caught in the web of something far bigger than both of us. What is happening? I glanced from Xiao Wei to the growing throng sprinting down the hallway, faces void of recognition and filled with fear. I wanted to dissolve into the shadows, to protect Mia from the unsettling truth that loomed just beyond our horizon. We need to move. The urgency in my voice felt foreign alongside my fear. Mia looked up at me, her wide eyes reflecting the storm inside, curiosity battling with fear. "But Daddy, I want to stay with him," she whispered, nearly blinking back tears. "It's not safe, Mia," I replied softly, though uncertainty gnawed at my insides. A part of me knew that pulling her away from this moment would crush something beautiful, something innocent. I searched Xiao Wei's expression, seeking reassurance as he held Mia's small hand like a sanctuary, his gaze determined yet filled with compassion. "He is right," Xiao Wei asserted, a glint of gravity in his eyes. "You must take her away from here. There's more brewing than just this moment. Sometimes shadows hold stories we aren't ready to confront." Just then, a cacophony of screams erupted from the far end of the hallway, a jarring reminder that safety was an illusion we desperately clung to. My chest constricted, I had to protect her at any cost. Desperation fueled my next words. "Come with us, please," I implored Xiao Wei, a plea born out of dread and recognition. "You can keep her safe." For a heartbeat, he hesitated, uncertainty clouding his features. "My place is here," he said quietly, a flicker of anguish passing through his voice. "But yours is different. It's beautiful." Before I could delve deeper, I felt the hand of chaos reach us, pulling me unwillingly closer to uncertainty. The loud thump of footsteps echoed closer, multiplying as if the chaos itself were breathing down our necks. I turned, instinctively shielding Mia from whatever shadows were closing in. The primal urge to protect her ignited wild in my chest. "Mia," I whispered urgently, "we need to go now." My heart raced like the pounding of war drums, urging me to protect, but fear rooted my feet to the ground. A surge of wind swept past us, wrapping around my tightly coiled dread and pulling it taut. Xiao Wei's voice broke through the storm. "Sometimes, finding safety means running toward the fear." His words coiled around my senses, both maddening and comforting. The irony of trusting someone I barely knew did not escape me, yet their weight felt familiar, a distant echo echoing from long-buried instincts that I wrestled with, the conflicting emotions tightening around my heart. "Trusting strangers can lead to danger, too," I whispered, not out of disbelief, but in search of a way to ferret my way out of the turmoil. Yet, in the depths of me, I realized it wasn't just fear clutching at my throat. It was an unseen thread connecting me to the unknown. Determined, I pulled Mia closer. "We're moving," I declared, my voice steadier, resolute against the horizon of uncertainty. Yet, before I could take a step, something, a flash, a moment caught my eye at the end of the corridor. A figure emerged from the chaos, an aura like dark clouds swirling around them, sharp yet captivating. "Get down!" It was a cry filled with urgency, and my instincts kicked in. I dropped to my knees, yanking Mia down beside me just as a deafening crash echoed through the air, sending tremors beneath us. The lights flickered above us, casting eerie shadows as if the world itself were shuddering. With terror racing through my veins, I glanced at Xiao Wei, who met my gaze with a fierce determination. "Hold on to what matters," he said before his expression twisted, revealing a glimpse of the man who had been concealing a lifetime of hardships behind the quiet mantle of a janitor. The figure on the other end moved closer, unraveling itself from chaos, shifting like a shadow until I could see their features. My heart began thundering again, the realization sudden and shocking. The pain was stained in the familiar lines of their face. It was someone I had hoped never to encounter again, someone from a past I desperately sought to forget. "Lily," I breathed, my chest constricting as I peered into the abyss of shared memories, fracturing scenes buried beneath layers of neglect and raw wounds. Her eyes hardened, reflecting judgments that felt all too real. "You have something that belongs to me." I felt the ground shift beneath my resolve, and wonder mingled with horror. The shadows rearranged themselves, and I grasped the lingering threads of connection weaving between fear and the past, threatening to engulf this moment. As I stared into her gaze, a chilling truth settled in. This confrontation would show me the depth of my choices. That I turned to Mia. Her eyes held a mix of confusion and innocence that steadied me, letting hope bloom in the corners of my heart. But the shadows of my past loomed larger than before, and the only certainty I felt was that the path ahead was fraught with uncharted dangers, secrets waiting to be unveiled. The moment stretched, suspended between the weight of recognition and the anguish of a past that held tight. Lily stood there, framed by the chaos behind her, a specter of old grievances resurrected from the depths of my mismatched memories. My heart raced as her hardened gaze bore into mine, chilling remnants of bitterness and unresolved shame sinking their claws into my thoughts. Mia, squatting beside me, looked up with wide, uncomprehending eyes. "Daddy, who is she?" Her voice, gentle yet steeped in curiosity, cut through the tension like a knife. I dared not let the painful truth seep into her innocence. "She is someone I knew once," I stammered, letting the words hang heavy in the air. In that moment, the world around us faded into the periphery, leaving us with a heartbeat of silence charged with unspoken words. I could feel Xiao Wei's presence, a solid column of support, as he positioned himself protectively between us and the nexus of my past. "I know why you're here," I finally found the strength to say, my voice a mix of sorrow and defiance. "But you don't get to take anything from my life now. I've fought too hard to build a future for Mia." Lily's lips curled into a smile that was anything but warm. "It's not just something, it's your past lurking in the shadows of your present. Do you think ignoring it will make it go away? I'm here to collect what belongs to me, all those fragments of you that you wish you could erase." Just as she spoke, the wall beside her cracked, splintering like the trust one once held in her, shards of memories spilling forth into the open. My thoughts flashed back to the fights, the misunderstandings, the times I had boxed her out of my heart until her presence felt more like a wound than a blessing. "Stop!" I screamed, the word bursting forth, desperate and raw. "You can't use our past like a weapon against me, or against her." My heart raced as the turmoil churned within me, escalating to a fever pitch of regret and despair, desperate to shelter Mia from the storm that raged both outside and within. "Then fight for her," Lily said, her voice low and dripping with a sardonic edge. "Prove you've become someone worthy of that little girl. Everyone in the world wants something from you, and right now, your daughter is just a pawn in your game." With each word, the icy grip of fear wove tighter around my heart. Could she see somewhere deep inside of me, where guilt tangled with love? I felt the urge to shield Mia from that realization of my failure, to protect her purity from any trace of darkness that had twisted my past. Xiao Wei stepped forward, aligning himself beside me. "You're mistaken," he said, his voice steady. "This isn't just about your past. It's about the future that is being shaped right now, one that needs to be free from the chains you've imposed on it." His fierce determination lit a flicker of hope in the shadows brimming around us. Mia turned to me, an echo of innocence pulling me through the tempest. Daddy, I don't understand. Can we go home? A lump formed in my throat, the words choked within. Home felt like a distant mirage, an oasis just beyond reach in the midst of this turmoil. We will, baby. I promise, I managed, though doubt clawed at the edges of my resolve. In that moment, I knew I had to fight not just against Lily, but against the part of me that still feared my own failures. Fight? Lily echoed, her voice mocking now. What kind of fight do you have in you if all you're doing is running? You're still hiding, aren't you? I clenched my fists, the shadows taunted me from every direction. No. I'm not running anymore, I asserted with newfound conviction, glancing at Xiao Wei and then down at Mia, whose little hand held tightly to me. Not from you. Not from anyone. Just as I spoke those words, a sudden explosion of noise shattered the air, a blinding light flashing from the corridor, reverberating like the echoes of a dark past trying to drown out the promise of tomorrow. I turned, and a wave of chaos swept through the hallway, revealing figures that appeared as their own wild storm. Get back! Xiao Wei shouted, stepping forward, shielding us. His stance was resolute, arms spread wide as if he could halt the tide, but the threat wasn't coming from the shadows behind Lily, it surged in from the mass of people, scrambling, fear spilling over in waves. Reality fractured, and in that disarray, a piercing cry struck through the air, one that was both familiar and foreign, a desperate call that tightened my heart and sent a shudder through my veins. Before I could decipher its source, a child emerged from the chaos, lost, frail, and frightened. My breath caught, the child bore a haunting resemblance to Mia. Mommy! The child wailed, arms stretched as if seeking something to cling to, and I felt the world around me spin. In that moment, my heartbeat surged with dread, intertwining alarm with the insatiable instinct to protect not just Mia, but all that remained unresolved in the shadows of my heart. The cries of the child echoed through the corridor, a sound that prompted 1,000 memories to flood my mind in a dizzying rush. The girl's plea was a haunting reflection, her voice stirring something deep within me, something I thought I had buried long ago. A soft gasp escaped my lips as I looked at Mia, whose eyes widened in alarm at the sight of the other child stumbling through the fray. Mia, stay close to me, I urged, instinctively reaching for her hand. I felt Xiao Wei's body tense beside me, instinctively prepared to confront this new threat. The chaos around us felt almost surreal, a whirlwind of uncertainty that twisted my heart in knots. The small girl paused before us, her frail form trembling, hands scrunched into tight fists. Her wide eyes darted back and forth, panic etched across her face. Mommy! Where are you? Her words rang out, blunt and piercing, and a part of me shattered under the weight of her desperation. I glanced back at Mia, whose expression flickered between confusion and concern. Daddy? Mia's voice was a fragile thread, pulling my attention away from the other child. I could see the worry pooling in her eyes, and in that moment, it became painfully clear, protecting her wasn't just about shielding her from the past but also from the chaos erupting around us. Everything's okay, baby. Just hold on tight, I whispered, my voice steady despite my internal turmoil. I turned back towards the little girl, taking a cautious step forward. The crowd around us seemed to pulse, a chaotic sea of faces retreating and surging, but my focus remained fixed on her. Hey there, I said softly, my heart aching for her. What's your name? For a fleeting moment, she halted, her panic shifting ever so slightly towards curiosity. I'm Lily. She stuttered, her voice trembling as she met my gaze. The sound was almost melodic, tinged with a sweet innocence that knotted my heart tighter. Lily, I repeated, my mind racing. It's okay, Lily. Where's your mommy? I don't know, she cried, voice breaking. They scared her. I was scared too. I couldn't find her. The raw fear in her voice echoed painfully in my chest. I knew this feeling, this desperate hope to return to the arms of someone who made everything feel safe. I glanced back at Mia, who edged closer to me, her small fingers interlaced with mine. It struck me like a lightning bolt, the bond formed between a parent and child, the unyielding instinct to protect those we love. You see that lady? I pointed towards Lily, whose smile now wore a menacing twist, an unsettling contrast to the anguish festering within Lily. I need you to listen to me, okay? We're going to find your mommy together. Lily's eyes flickered between mine and the chaos around us, but then she nodded resolutely. Okay, she whispered, though uncertainty still laced her voice, and as we began to move sideways through the thrumming crowd, I felt an unexpected warmth spread through my chest, a connection forged in the midst of turmoil. Xiao Wei shielded us, his presence a reassuring strength, while I led Mia and Lily toward a safer corner, where scattered debris clung to the floor like remnants of the fear that had threatened to consume us moments earlier. That we finally reached a narrow alcove where the distance seemed to quell the noise of the chaos just a bit. I crouched down to Lily's level, brushing a strand of hair away from her tear-streaked face. We'll find your mommy, I promised softly, though my own heart raced with fear that the world around us might not allow it. Just then, I noticed Mia gazing intently at Lily, her wide eyes filled with empathy. Don't be scared, she said, her little voice echoing with the kind of innocence that could shimmer through any storm. We'll help you. Lily gave a small nod, still frightened but comforted by Mia's sincerity. I watched them connect, two young souls intertwined by a shared sense of fear yet grounded in the hope that only children possess. Their connection, however slight, radiated warmth against the chilling backdrop of the chaos around us, but then the air shifted again, and the familiar shadow announced itself once more. Lily stepped closer, her eyes flashing with a recklessness that made my stomach twist. What do you think you're doing? She asked, her tone dripping with a dark delight. Playing savior now? You think you can build bonds by weaving your way through the chaos? Leave them alone, Xiao Wei growled, stepping protectively in front of Mia and Lily. But, in a shocking turn, Lily broke into a laugh, sharp and dissonant. Do you even understand the dangers of the world? Children are just pawns waiting to be hurt. You're piling them up for the fall. The chill of her words hung in the air, a harbinger of unease creeping back into my heart. There was truth in her proclamation, echoes of the monsters lurking in our pasts, threats that could dismantle any semblance of safety we built. Mia, Lily, listen to me, I said urgently, forcing my focus onto them even as dread gnawed at my edges. We have to stick together, and we need to stay brave. We won't let anyone take that away from us. And just as the world felt like it was spiraling beyond control, another explosion of chaos erupted, louder this time, shaking the ground beneath our feet. Despair clawed at me, potent and suffocating, yet before I could process the shift, a voice broke through the din, low and distinct. Get down. A voice I recognized echoed just above the escalating cries. My heart lurched, hope blossoming against the storm as I turned towards the source. There, standing resolutely amidst the pandemonium, was a familiar figure, a janitor, his clothes wrinkled and stained, yet his stance was unwavering. He held a small megaphone, eyes scanning the turmoil. Everyone, evacuate to the exits. Follow the safest paths. His words rang out, piercing through the overwhelming noise, a beacon of clarity amid obfuscation. But then something unexpected happened. Mia looked up at me, her innocent heart sensing the connection between her and Lily, and smiled. Suddenly, like shards of light breaking through clouded skies, Lily reached up and took hold of Mia's hand. In that moment, the weight of everything fell away, and I felt a flicker of hope. Together, perhaps we could navigate through the upheaval, but as fear began to yield to this newfound bond, the scene shifted once more. A shot rang out, sharp and decisive, from nowhere. My heart raced, arriving at a shocking realization: there were deeper dangers than our pasts lurking in the shadows, and we had only just begun to uncover the truth. As the chaos swallowed us whole, my thoughts spiraled into darkness. What if, in the depths of this storm, the danger was not only outside but within the very threads of our fragile connections? The air was thick with confusion, the echo of the gunshot lingering like a heavy shadow over us, suffocating any remnants of hope. Instinctively, I crouched lower, pulling Mia and Lily close as the crowd erupted once more, a wave of fear crashing against the fragile fortress we had formed together. Xiao Wei's body pressed against mine, a human shield, yet even his sturdy demeanor could not quell the rising tide of panic that threatened to drown us all. What was that? Lily's voice trembled, her eyes wide with terror. It's okay, Lily. Just stay quiet, I whispered, my voice shaking as I focused on the task at hand, keeping the girls safe while my mind raced to comprehend the implications of what had just happened. The distant cries and confused shuffling heightened the urgency. I could sense that we were not safe here, not one bit. Take my hand, I encouraged, locking eyes with Mia. Her small fingers wrapped around mine with a grip so delicate yet so fierce that it ignited a flicker of strength within me. Lily mirrored her action, her trust in us palpable despite the fear etched on her face. Follow me, I commanded, my instincts kicking into high gear. Each step was calculated, a balance of urgency and caution as we maneuvered through the fray, weaving closer to the exits, desperately seeking a semblance of safety. Behind us, I'm not sure how it happened, but I caught a glimpse of Lily, and her gaze was hauntingly predatory. Where do you think you're going? She taunted, the chaos serving only to amplify her menace. I pressed forward, a deep sense of unease unfurling within me. For every step I took, a gnawing question echoed in my mind: what had we just unraveled? Did we truly know what awaited us beyond the chaos? Once we emerged from the clamor of bodies, a disorienting silence filled the air. We stepped into a side alley, vacant but marked by debris from the chaos. The sudden stillness rang in my ears, a stark contrast to the pandemonium we had just escaped. We can breathe here, I exhaled, raising my head as if the sound of my own voice could bring comfort. Mia, look! Lily cried, pointing towards the far end of the alley. A glimmer of something shiny caught the light, a small mirror reflecting a crack in the wall behind it. It was surreal against the horror we had just fled, the petty shard of beauty daring to exist amid darkness. But just as I reached for Lily to steer her away from the potential distraction, I heard the panicked breaths trailing behind us as someone rounded the corner. My heart raced, my body tensing instinctively. Help! Please, I can't breathe. A stranger emerged, face pale with panic, breathless and raw, a young man, disheveled, clutching his chest. Get back! I shouted instinctively, pulling Mia and Lily closer, desperate to protect them from whatever peril this new figure brought. Mia, hold on to Lily, I instructed, positioning myself in front of them like a barrier, ready to confront any threat. Stay close. The young man staggered, collapsing against the wall. Please, I need your help. He gasped, eyes wild with terror, flinching as if someone pursued him. Xiao Wei stepped forward cautiously, his gaze shifting between me and the newcomer. What is happening? Are you in danger? They're coming. He croaked, clinging to the wall for support. I saw them take my friends. They who? I interjected sharply, the raw fear spreading through my veins. Them. The people with the guns. They took them. He glanced wildly behind him, as if expecting shadows to swirl out and engulf us. Look at me, I demanded, forcing him to meet my eyes, anchored in fierce resolve. We're standing together, we'll face this. Tell us where they took your friends. And then it hit me, an unsettling realization. The dangers of our pasts had already come home, transformed, and now they threatened to consume us in this new chaos. But it wasn't just my past haunting me, it was the specter of someone else's terror now entwined with our own. He hesitated, searching for the right words as if navigating an uncharted territory filled with menace. They said no one was to be left behind. They want to create a new order. The implications of his words coiled around my heart like a constrictor, squeezing out the breath from my lungs. His anguish echoed a multitude of fears of losing our loved ones, of being powerless in the face of uncontrolled chaos, and, most disturbingly, of being caught in a web woven by unknown forces. The young man's breathing had quieted, but the weight of the silence reverberated in my chest. What sort of new order demanded such sacrifices? What did it mean for Mia? For Lily? I had needed to keep them safe, but now the very foundation of that promise was under siege. Where's your family? I finally asked, my heart sinking because this could become a stark question of our immediate reality. I don't know if they're alive. His voice trembled, cracking under the weight of despair. But they can't take us too. You don't understand. Lily squeezed my hand tighter, her small face drawn with fear. You can't let them take us. Please. Just when I thought we might have to defend our stubborn thread of hope, the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoed through the alley, approaching us. My heart raced as dread washed over me. There was no way to fight them all. Focus on my voice. I shouted, urgency ramping up in my tone. We need to move now. But a flicker of resolve ignited within me, spurred by the connections forged against the storm. We might not have an answer, but together we could face whatever was about to unfold. As I turned to usher the girls forward, another realization gripped me, a shadow against the alley wall. My breath caught in my throat, and it wasn't until Mia's innocent voice broke through the din that I realized what was unfolding. Look, Daddy. There's a way out. A door stood ajar a few paces away, beckoning us into the unknown. The hesitation lingered like a stubborn ember, teetering on the edge of life and death. Behind us, the footsteps drew nearer, echoing with chilling finality. Go! The young man shouted, propelling us toward our only chance. We had this glimmer of hope, and as we rushed through the cracked doorway into darkness, I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever awaited us on the other side would reshape everything we thought we knew. The darkness embraced us like an old friend, but just on the edge of despair, I caught a whisper, soft and melodic, echoing in Mandarin, a voice singing a lullaby, reminiscent of a day long past, a voice that sent chills racing down my spine and soothed me all at once. And as I held on to Mia and Lily, a deafening crash rang out behind us, punctuating my breath with a finality that screamed, what have we walked into? The world beyond the cracked doorway enveloped us in darkness, primal and suffocating. The echoing crash behind us faded swiftly into the night, a sharp reminder of the chaos we had fled. As I peered into the abyss, my hands tightened protectively around Mia and Lily, feeling their small bodies tremble against me. The only source of light came from an unsteady flickering bulb overhead, casting eerie shadows that transformed the corridor into a labyrinth of uncertainty. Stay close, I urged, my voice barely above a whisper, forcing myself to remain calm. The young man stumbled forward, his features sharpened by panic as he scanned our surroundings. We shouldn't linger here, they'll follow us. Mia, Lily, hold on to my sweater, I instructed, my heart pounding as we ventured deeper into the corridor. It felt as if the walls were closing in with each step. The cool air brushed against my skin, a stark contrast to the heat of the chaos we had lived through moments before. Where are we? Lily's voice quivered, her gaze darting between the shadows, as if they could leap out at any moment. I don't know, but I promise I'll keep you safe, I reassured her, forcing a smile. I looked at the young man, desperate to connect. What's your name? Jean, he replied, his voice strained. Please, we need to find a way out before they come. Right. So let us keep moving. My heart ached with empathy for him, his fear mirrored my own, a reflection of the roles fate had thrust upon us. Carrying this shared weight felt incomprehensible, yet the bond forced me to rise above it. Jean was vulnerability personified, yet he held the knowledge that could lead us back into the light. As we pressed on, the echoes of a haunting lullaby grew louder, wrapping around us like a delicate cocoon amidst the impending storm. Where was it coming from? I strained to hone in, desperate for answers, an inexplicable connection igniting within me. Mia, can you hear that? I asked, my heart leading me to the melody that danced in the air. She nodded, eyes wide, whispering, it sounds like a song, a beautiful song. Lily's grip on my sweater tightened. Can we sing it too? I chuckled softly amidst the dread. In that innocent question, there sprang a fragile bloom of hope. Maybe. Let us just listen for now. As we made our way down the corridor, the melody grew clearer, drawing us toward a door at the end, partially ajar as though inviting us to step through the shadows. Although fear tugged at my gut, I felt an inexplicable urge to push onward. Before reaching for the door, I exchanged a glance with Jean, a shared silence unspoken yet palpable, a covenant born from our mutual plight. Pressing my lips together, I nodded toward the door, granting him the go-ahead. "Ready?" he whispered, voice trembling with trepidation. "On 3, I murmured. 1, 2, 3. We eased the door open, its hinges groaning as if protesting against our actions. Stepping inside, we were greeted by a dimly lit room that smelled of dampness and age. Scattered across the floor were various collections of broken furniture. It felt like the remains of forgotten lives. And yet, in the corner, a small figure sat cradled within a halo of light created by an old, dusty window. Curled up in an armchair, her frail form contrasted sharply against the marred walls. There was something about her presence, a familiarity that sent shivers coursing through my veins. "Mama?" Mia's voice rang out, tentative yet hopeful. Before I could respond, the woman raised her head, revealing features that glimmered through the haze. Her eyes widened as though recognizing a ghost long thought lost. "Mia?" she whispered, her voice trembling with disbelief. My heart stopped. "What?" I reeled backward, almost losing my balance as I assessed the situation. "No. This can't be real." But as the sorrowful expression bloomed on the woman's face, there was no denying the truth. The lullaby crescendoed, as the tender words filled the room with warmth, but the twist of reality threatened to steal it away. "Where have you been?" The woman's voice pierced through the dense fog of my thoughts. "I thought I lost you." "Mama!" Mia darted forward, rushing into her mother's arms with a force that seemed to ignite the grim setting. Distant echoes of laughter, a haunting melody I had never thought to hear again, swallowed the air. And as joy intermingled with anguish, the realization crashed over me with the force of a tidal wave. I was on the precipice of losing everything I thought I knew. This reunion came with an uncharted territory I had not prepared for. "What is happening?" My voice trembled, searching for the strength to understand what had just unraveled before me. Jean stood frozen, uncertainty dancing in his eyes as he caught a glimpse of the frail figure's face, the weight of revelations creeping around him like an approaching storm. And as the lullaby faded into silence, the shadows lurked closer, driven by a promise of turmoil I feared was mirrored in the depths of the woman's stare. "Mia, sweetheart," she began, her voice shaking with emotion. "We need to talk about the dangers that lie ahead." At that moment, a deafening crash reverberated through the air, shaking the very foundation beneath us. A sense of finality loomed in the atmosphere, a disruption that demanded answers. Just as I prepared to question our fate, Mia turned back toward me, her innocent eyes wide yet filled with a knowing that stripped me of any pretense. "Daddy, it's okay," she said softly, as if the storm swirling around us held no power to harm her. And as I stared into my daughter's unwavering gaze, the ground beneath us tilted, my heart a wild drum echoing the weight of untold truths. A horrifying thought wormed its way into my mind: I couldn't let Mia down again. Yet lurking just beyond the fragile veil of our reunion, lay shadows that sang a different tune, willing to draw us back into the chaos from which we had just escaped. The dim light of the room was hardly a comfort. It flickered like the remnants of hope I tried to cling to, illuminating the intricate web of emotions that coursed through me. Mia's smile, bright yet precarious, tugged at my heart, but it was the piercing look in her mother's eyes that pulled me deeper into the chasm of fear and uncertainty. "Mama, what do you mean?" Mia asked, her small face a mask of innocence as she clung tightly to the woman who had embraced her like a lost treasure. The woman brushed her fingers through Mia's hair, a soothing motion that carried the weight of years. "I've been looking for you, sweetheart. But you need to understand why I had to leave." My throat tightened. "No. You don't get to explain away abandonment with simple words. Not after everything." Anger snapped through me, raw and unfiltered. a defense mechanism against the tidal wave of past pains crashing into the present. Mika, she pleaded, using the name she once whispered like a lullaby, now foreign and jarring. I never wanted to leave you. It was for your safety and Mia's. But at what cost? The words slipped from my lips, tinged with a bitterness I hadn't intended to reveal, threatening to break the fragile clarity we had just stumbled upon. Mika, please, she continued, desperation shaping her voice. They're coming for us, and I can't let them take you not again. Panic surged around me, a living entity. Who? I demanded, searching her eyes for evidence, anything that would reveal a hidden truth. Jean stepped beside me, his skin pale. We should leave now, he urged, glancing nervously at the door through which we had entered. We're running out of time. But Mia remained unmoved, torn between the joy of reunion and an unseen thread of fear that twisted tighter around her heart. What do you mean, Mama? Who is coming? What have you done? Trust me, Mia. You don't want to know. The woman's gaze flickered toward the broken window, the outside world shrouded in silence. Then we'll leave. Now. We can figure it out outside. I felt a swell of frustration as I focused on guiding my daughters through this storm. But just as I reached for Mia, an angry crash echoed from the hallway, sending shivers through my spine. I turned, my instincts prickling as the flickering bulb cast ominous shadows flickering against the wall. It sounded like thunder, a foreboding indication of what lurked just outside the room, closer than ever before. Stay back. Jean raised his voice, a primal desperation sparking within him, and my heart raced at the thought of the danger creeping toward us, threatening to consume everything. Suddenly, just outside the door, we heard the unmistakable sound of hurried footsteps, boots crunching over debris, menacing whispers beckoning forth a chilling promise. Each sound felt like a countdown to a disaster foretold. Mama! Mia cried as she turned back to her mother, seeing the expression of fear transform into something almost unrecognizable, an all-encompassing dread that seemed to transcend time and space. Listen to me closely, the woman said, her voice trembling but resolute. You must leave, all of you. Find the old maintenance hatch near the service room, it's our only way out. I'll hold them off. No. I shouted, refusing to let her take on this burden alone. I can't lose you again. We need to fight together. But an eerie calm washed over her, and she shook her head slowly. This isn't about you anymore, Mika. I made my choice long ago. Now, it's yours to make. Before I could argue, the door swung open, revealing a sharp silhouette cloaked in shadow. My breath caught as I recognized the figure, a man from our past, a ghost that should have remained buried. Hello, Mika, he said, voice smooth like silk laced with malice. Mika? Mia whispered, confusion washing over her. Stay behind me. I shouted, instinctually positioning myself in front of the girls as the specter loomed closer, each step resonating with a foreboding familiarity. Is this how you want her to remember you? He taunted, dark mirth dancing in his eyes. A coward hiding behind her. Skirt. My fists clenched, and I felt the tightly coiled spring of fear boil over into defiance. I'm not afraid of you. He chuckled softly, but his expression turned deadly serious as he faced the woman. We've been searching for you. Are you ready to come home? Never, she shot back with fierce conviction, yet, in the depths of her tone, I could hear the tremor of vulnerability. As the standoff intensified, the room thickened with fear. I sensed Jean edging back, hesitant. Anxiety writhed within me like an emotional tempest, my grip on reality fraying. Mama, what do we do? Mia said, her voice a soft plea as she grasped my hand tighter, her pulse racing in step with my own. Just leave, the woman said with a finality that felt like a dagger lodged in my heart. Get out, now. Don't look back. Before another word escaped her lips, the man lunged forward, chances fracturing in a single heartbeat. Run! I roared as the world exploded into chaos, the shadows melding with our fading hope, now unmistakably wrapped in dread that I and the anxiety of the moment. Just as I clutched Mia and Lily, a cold breath brushed past me. In the frantic scramble, I felt a slip, just a touch, a hand brushing against my sleeve, and then the moment froze. An unexpected whisper in Mandarin floated through the air, and my heart sank when I realized it was Jean, the shy janitor whose existence now plated our fates. "Wait," he urged, glancing back with panic-stricken eyes. She knows where your sister is." The door rattled as chaos erupted, and realization struck me like a lightning bolt. What sister? The shadows began to creep closer, gnawing at the edges of our fragmenting reality, threatening to shatter the fragile bond one clung to. "Mama!" Mia screamed as the veil was bound tighter, and I gripped my daughters, knowing that with every moment we lingered, we risked everything, and in the fading echoes of the lullaby that once seemed like a melody of hope, I came to understand that some doors are meant to be closed forever, while others could very well open to reveal the darkest truths we were never prepared to face. My breath came in ragged gasps as the pandemonium surged around us. Adrenaline coursed through my veins, igniting every nerve ending as I squeezed Mia and Lily's hands. Jean remained by our side, his eyes darting between the door and the window, seeking any escape that might remain. "Go!" I yelled again, urging them toward the dimly lit corridor that promised at least a chance of safety over the all-consuming shadows of confrontation. But still, I felt rooted in place, my heart torn between survival and the haunting call of the past that threatened to draw me back. Jean looked at me, panic etched on his features, and then his lips parted, releasing a shaky breath. "Mika, it's your sister," he said again, urgency weaving through his voice. "She's alive. That's what I was trying to tell you before." All the door continued to rattle violently, echoes of the past growing louder, yet Jin's words collided with my racing thoughts, leaving me dizzy. My sister? The one I had mourned for years. How could he even know? I felt all progress stall as the implication of his statement sank deeper within me, fracturing the shields I had built around my heart. "What do you mean?" My voice was barely a whisper, laced with a mix of desperation and disbelief, but my body felt like lead. "Mika!" Mia's cry rang out, pulling me back to the present. The ominous silhouette of the man loomed larger, eyes glinting with malicious intent. He was inches from us, closer than I had dared to consider, his smile hinting at cruel memories I had thought long buried. "Stop! Get away from them!" I shouted, moving instinctively to shield my daughters from the darkness that threatened to engulf us. His laughter, low and ringing, filled the cramped room, souring my resolve. "You really believe you can protect them? How quaint!" I felt Jean's presence drift closer. He spoke in hurried Mandarin. I barely caught the phrases, fragments of urgency laced with fear. That breathless rhythm seemed to momentarily disrupt the chaos around us, like a secret unfolding in a language too precious to distort. But Mia, who had evidently grasped more than I realized, responded back softly, her voice clear and unwavering. "Xiao Jiu." The color drained from my face as I exchanged glances with Jean, both of us frozen in shock. Xiao Jiu. It meant little Nine. My heart raced, memories flooding back. In ancient tales told by our grandmother, Xiao Jiu was a sister who whispered courage into the hearts of brave souls in peril. "Where is she?" I demanded, directing my question at Jean despite the looming threat still pressing upon us. "Is she truly alive?" "Leave that to me," he shouted, eyes wide, breaking through the tension surrounding us. "You need to take them away now, while you can." But I couldn't move. How could I? The very idea that my sister might be out there alive was a dual-edged sword. It filled me with hope but also congealed fear within my chest that I'd somehow find out the price of her existence. "Xiao Jiu," Mia repeated, her voice more resolute now, as if she recognized the weight of the name. The man tensed, dark eyes narrowing. Evidently, he too understood the significance in her small invocation. A crack in his facade. "I can't leave her," I finally choked out. "I can't abandon her again." "You're already dying to save them. You think you'll have the power to save everyone?" The man's voice dripped with disdain. How noble! But no one was ever able to escape their fates. He lunged forward just as I snapped my gaze to Jean, the urge to flee suddenly overwhelming. We only need a moment. The service hatches, but the man was upon us, gripping my arm tightly, filling my senses with terror. The chaos crescendoed, and my heart hammered against my ribs as I felt my daughters tugging at my sleeve, urging me to break free. Xiao Jiu knows where the truth lies. Jean shouted, surging forward, desperation warping his face. She can help you find her. In that instant mid-reach, as pain radiated from where the man had gripped me, everything shifted. Hope surged anew, a pulse thrumming to life amid the chaos. I turned back. Toward Jean, the fragments of my past sparking impossibilities within me. Are you sure? I had to ask, keeping my voice steady in the face of his unwavering courage. Where is she? Deep inside, he said through clenched teeth, as the confrontation drew nearer. You must believe, Mika. Turn the first corner, and follow her light. Go. Before I realized it, the physical reality around me imploded into a swirl of sound and fear. I could feel the desperation radiating from my daughter's Mia's voice, firm, unwavering, and yet tinged with confusion. It was now or never. Mama, don't leave us. Lily cried, and with her words, a wave of clarity swept over me. Stay close. I cried out, and in that moment, I hurled myself back toward the corridor, guiding Mia and Lily. We run together. But regret mingled with the urgency, and as we dashed out of the room, I dared not look back at Jean's frantic expression separated by shadows and uncertainty. Our breaths were quickened by fear, every heartbeat screaming for survival, carrying both the weight of my past and the flicker of hope for my sister. The corridor was dark, but it opened up ahead into a wider expanse, suffused with the dim glow of an emergency exit sign. My heart accelerated, this was my chance. As we neared the exit, I felt a hand pull at my sleeve once more before releasing me. A final whisper in the void echoed through my consciousness, trust the light. And then, just like that, Jean was gone. The door burst open ahead of us, revealing the fading twilight, the air alive with the scent of damp earth and freedom, but I froze once more, torn between impulse and the haunting truth of everything I was still losing. Mika. Mia's insistent grip brought me back, she was pulling me forward, reminding me of urgency. I took a breath, choosing in that moment to step through the doorway to embrace whatever lay beyond, even when the chilling past loomed in the distance, eager to snatch me back and extinguish the flicker of hope ignited by a shy janitor's life-altering whisper. The twilight air enveloped us like a new beginning, crisp and charged with uncharted possibilities. I stepped out into the fading light, pulling Mia and Lily close. The familiar chaos faded into the background, replaced by hushed whispers of the night and the distant echo of gunfire now muffled, like memories locked away. But the true reality still loomed, a specter threatening to re-emerge as I glanced back, searching for Jean's familiar figure amidst the shadows. Daddy, where's Jean? Mia quipped, her innocent voice piercing right through the haze. It moved me, that she could still find light in this darkness, still resonate with joy amidst fear that I exhaled, squaring my shoulders as the weight of my promise intensified. He's behind us, my love. We'll find him. But even as I spoke, uncertainty gnawed at my insides. Could I fulfill the debt owed to my sister without risking the safety of my daughters? I couldn't shake the conviction deep in my heart the connection to my past had become intertwined with the lives of my children, a pendulum swinging precariously between love and loss. Where do we go now? Lily asked, her small face illuminated by the dying sun's light, filling me with a sense of urgency. Anywhere that feels safe, sweet girl, I replied, my resolve hardening. We need to find a way to protect ourselves, and we will. There was something about her trust that reminded me of Lu Wei's gentle spirit, a connection that sparked a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. As we made our way through the entrance, my instincts propelled me forward toward a small, dimly lit alley adjacent to the building. Something about it felt welcoming, a sanctuary from the madness that painted the world around us. I hurried along, pulling my daughters closer as we navigated through twists of concealed paths, alive with the quiet sounds of the night. But as we settled into the shadows, I shifted my thoughts toward the incredible turn my life had taken. The revelation of who I might have still with me a sister kindled a desperate resolve within. I couldn't allow myself to be shattered by my past. I needed to weave a new tapestry of hope for Mia and Lily. Can you hear that? Lily's eyes sparkled with eagerness. I stopped, my senses heightened. The lullaby wrapping around us whispered through the night once more, drawing me in, lacing hope into the strands of reality. Where's it coming from? I asked, my pulse quickening. Mama used to sing it at bedtime, Mia chimed, her voice lighting up the darkness as she recalled tender moments I often cherished from the past. It was our secret song. I bit my lip, threading through the memories that began to free themselves, echoing nighttime stories and the resilient love that had illuminated our relationship, even in the shadows of hardship. Let us follow it, shall we? I urged, emboldened by my daughter's curiosity. Clutching their small hands more tightly, we ventured toward the source, a shard of ethereal hope pulling us closer at every step. The alley opened up into a garden hidden behind tangled vines, bathed in moonlight. Delicate blooms blossomed in splashes of color. Daisies, just like in Xiao Wei's story, seemed to nod in soft greetings. And at the center, almost mesmerizing, sat an old violin perched on a weathered stone, a lone performer in the quiet chaos that had just unfurled. The moment I caught sight of it, the lullaby swelled and enveloped the garden, cascading through the air like a warm embrace. Look, Daddy! Mia exclaimed, pointing. It's so pretty. Her eyes shone like bright stars, illuminating the uncertain path ahead, weaving strength into the fragile embrace of shadows swirling around us. We may not be able to fight all our battles, but we can choose hope, can't we? I replied, crouching to their height, searching their eyes for understanding. Whatever comes our way, we will face it together. Understanding punctuated the air between us as we stood united, gripping onto this thread of devotion and trust. Just as I began to piece all the fragments of my life together, a bittersweet family history. The possibility of finding my sister, choosing to protect my daughters, the edges of the shadows crept closer, a relentless reminder of the turmoil from which we had fled. As we lingered in this peaceful sanctuary, we knew the chaos could return. The pulse of my apprehension quickened, but the connection I felt for Mia and Lily anchored my heart. Whatever happens, I promise I will always find you, I whispered fiercely, drawing them closer to me. In that moment, the notes of the forgotten lullaby unfurled once more in the night air, an echo of promises passed down through generations, binding us together and illuminating the shadows surrounding our lives. As the melody rose, I suddenly realized that just beyond the veil of shadows, Xiao Wei, Jean, and even my sister were a part of this tale, a network of hope, love, and experiences interlaced like a tapestry of resilience, waiting to embrace the light. And when I finally turned toward the echoes of the past, my heart swelled with a newfound determination. We will forge ahead, hand in hand, I declared, brushing away the remnants of doubt that clouded my judgment, stepping forward into the unknown. The darkness that once felt oppressive loosened its grip, allowing space for my resolve. Together, we stepped forward, hearts intertwined and minds open to possibility, ready to rewrite our story into a beautiful symphony, a tale threaded through with the light born from love. And I knew that somewhere in the recesses of those haunting echoes lay the promise of reunion, the chance for forgiveness, and an ending not marked by pain, but by the warmth of acceptance. In this newfound hope, I realized the greatest victory would be giving each other the chance to rewrite our futures. Fearless and free. And as I led Mia and Lily away from the shadows that had once chained me, I whispered against the cadence of the lullaby, we are never lost when love guides our way.